I've been thinking a lot lately about that moment we all experience at the airport. You've cleared security, you've got your boarding pass in hand, and you're walking through the terminal looking for your gate. Maybe you stop for a coffee, maybe you grab a magazine, and then you find your seat at the gate, you plop your bag down, and without even thinking, you slide it into the empty spot right next to you. We've all done it. But here's the question I really want you to think about, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever considered that the simple act of putting your bag down in a specific spot could actually be the reason you miss your flight? Or worse, the reason you get stopped by law enforcement? I'm serious. Drop your answer in the comments section below and let me know if you've ever been paranoid about where you place your belongings, or if you're one of those people who just never worries about it. And stick with me, because by the time you finish reading this, you are going to look at airport seating areas, charging stations, and even those little shelves near the restrooms completely differently. I'm going to explain why something as innocent as resting your bag can turn into a nightmare scenario, and why the things the TSA allows versus forbids are only half the story. The other half is what happens after you think you're safe. Let's start with the obvious, because we have to set the stage. The Transportation Security Administration, the TSA, they have a thankless job. Nobody walks through security excited to see them. But the reality is, they are the gatekeepers. They decide what flies and what doesn't, literally. And if you've traveled at all in the last 20 years, you know the basic song and dance. Liquids under 3.4 ounces, laptops out of bags, shoes off. But what I want to do is peel back the layers on those rules, because a lot of what you think you know is either outdated or just flat out misunderstood. Take the liquids rule, for example. Everyone knows the 3-1-1 rule. 3.4 ounces or less, 1 quart-sized bag, 1 bag per person. But here's something that might surprise you. If you have a bottle that is clearly labeled as 4 ounces, but it's only half full, the TSA is going to toss it. They don't care if there's only a drop left. The rule is based on the container's capacity, not the contents. I've seen grown adults argue with officers over this, holding up a half-empty shampoo bottle and pleading their case. It doesn't matter. If the bottle says 4 ounces, it's not allowed through the checkpoint. You have to either put it in your checked bag or surrender it. And look, I get it. It feels wasteful. But from a security standpoint, the container size is what matters, because you could theoretically mix liquids. You could have something dangerous in a legitimate bottle. They can't test every single container. So the rule is absolute. Now, here's where it gets interesting. People get so focused on the liquids rule that they completely ignore the other stuff in their bags that is actually way more problematic. I'm talking about things like tools. You'd be shocked at how many travelers try to bring wrenches, screwdrivers, or hammers in their carry-on. And the rule here is based on potential to cause harm. If it's a tool that can be used as a weapon, it's probably not getting through. But there's nuance. A small screwdriver that's under 7 inches might be allowed, depending on the officer's discretion. That's the key phrase you need to remember. Officer discretion. The TSA publishes a list, but that list is a guideline. The human being looking at the X-ray screen has the final say. So you can read online that a certain item is allowed, but if that officer is having a bad day, or if they feel the item looks suspicious, they can deny it. You don't have a legal right to bring a corkscrew onto a plane, even if your cousin did it last week. And this brings me to the real heart of the matter, which is the psychology of the airport. The rules are one thing, but the environment is another. Airports are designed to move people. They are churning points. And in that churn, we become complacent. We let our guard down. We put our bags in places we shouldn't. Not because we're breaking a TSA rule, but because we're breaking an unwritten rule of situational awareness. Let me paint you a picture. You're at the gate. It's crowded. Every seat is taken except for one, right in the middle of a row. You sit down and you put your carry-on in the empty seat next to you. You might put your jacket on top of it. You pull out your phone and you start scrolling. You're vaguely listening for the boarding announcement. Now, is there a TSA rule that says you can't put your bag on a chair? No. Of course not. The TSA doesn't govern gate seating. But what is happening in that moment is that you have created a barrier between yourself and your property. Your bag is not touching you. It's not between your legs. It's out of your peripheral vision. And in that split second, when someone says, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" You look up, you smile, you say no, and you reach for your bag. But what if, in that moment of distraction, someone else reaches for it first? Not the person asking about the seat, but their accomplice who swoops in from the other side. It sounds like a movie, but it happens. It's called distraction theft, and airports are prime real estate for it. So, while the TSA is worried about bombs and guns, you should be worried about your wallet and your passport. Because if you lose those, you're not going anywhere. And the people who do this, they are good. They look like travelers. They have boarding passes, sometimes real ones, sometimes fake. They blend in. They know that the gate area is a place of low suspicion. Everyone is tired. Everyone is just trying to get home. And that's exactly the environment they exploit. Now, let's shift gears slightly and talk about something the TSA absolutely forbids that people still try to sneak through. And I'm not talking about the obvious stuff like guns or knives. I'm talking about the weird stuff, the stuff that makes you wonder what they were thinking. One of the most common forbidden items that surprises people is sports equipment. You might think, oh, it's just a baseball bat. But a baseball bat is a club. It's a weapon. It can't go in the cabin. Same with hockey sticks, ski poles, pool cues. They all have to be checked. And people get genuinely upset about this. They argue that they're going to a tournament, that the bat is expensive, that they don't trust the airline not to lose it. I understand the frustration, I really do. But the logic is sound. If someone wanted to cause harm, a baseball bat is a pretty effective tool, so it goes in the hold. Then there are the items that are allowed, but will absolutely get you stopped and searched. I'm talking about food, specifically weird food. A solid block of cheese, allowed. A jar of honey, allowed, but it's a gel, so it has to fit in the liquids bag. A fruitcake, technically allowed, but the density might look suspicious on the X-ray. The officers are trained to look for organic materials that could be explosives. Sometimes a perfectly harmless fruitcake or a wheel of brie looks exactly like a block of C4 on the screen. So they have to pull your bag, they have to open it, and they have to swab it for explosive residue. This is not a punishment. This is their job. But if you're running late and you're the person with the cheese wheel, you might miss your flight. So the lesson here is, if you're carrying anything dense and organic, give yourself extra time. Don't be the person holding up the line because you decided to bring grandma's famous fruitcake as a carry-on. And this leads me to a broader point about the TSA and their processes. A lot of travelers think the security checkpoint is a game. They think they can outsmart the system. They think if they just act natural, they can get away with bringing a water bottle through. But the system is designed to catch anomalies. The X-ray operator isn't just looking for guns. They are looking for shapes that don't belong. They are looking for dense masses in unexpected places. They are looking for wires, for batteries, for liquids. And they are incredibly good at it. They see thousands of bags a day. They know what a normal bag looks like. If your bag looks abnormal, even if it's just because you wrapped a sandwich in tin foil, they are going to take a second look. Tin foil is dense. It blocks the X-ray. It creates a void on the screen. To the operator, that void is a red flag. So they pull the bag, and then you're standing there while they unwrap your turkey sandwich. It's annoying, but it's necessary. Now, I promised I would talk about why you should never put your bag in certain places, and I want to get into the specifics of that because it's not just about theft, it's about security theater and real security. There's a concept in airport operations called the sterile area. Once you go through security, you are in a sterile area. The assumption is that everyone and everything in that area has been screened. But here's the loophole that people don't think about. Your bag is screened. You are screened. But the moment you set your bag down and walk away from it, even for a second, it becomes an unknown. If you walk 10 feet to grab a napkin and leave your bag under the chair, in the eyes of security, that bag is now an unattended item. And if someone reports it, or if a camera sees you leave it, the response is immediate and severe. I've seen it happen. A guy gets up to use the restroom, leaves his backpack propped against a pillar. He thinks it's fine because he'll be right back. But while he's gone, the airport gets busy. A mother with a stroller parks near the bag. A businessman stands next to it. Within 2 minutes, that bag has become a fixture. And then someone who is paying attention, maybe a gate agent, maybe a fellow traveler, notices that nobody is standing with the bag. They alert airport police. The police arrive, they clear the area, and they approach the bag. Now, usually it's nothing, but sometimes they have to use the robot. They have to disrupt the entire concourse. And when the guy comes out of the bathroom and sees his bag surrounded by cops, his travel day is over. He's going to be questioned, he's going to be delayed, and he might even be fined, all because he didn't want to carry his bag into the bathroom. And bathrooms, by the way, are a huge risk zone. Think about the layout of an airport bathroom. There are sinks, there are stalls, and there is often a small counter or shelf near the door. People love to put their bags on that shelf while they wash their hands. It makes sense. You don't want your bag on the wet floor. But that shelf is a hot spot for theft and for accidental abandonment. You walk in, you put your bag down, you go into a stall, you come out, you wash your hands, and you walk out. Did you grab your bag? In the rush, maybe not. And once you're out the door, that bag is sitting there. Someone else might grab it, thinking it's theirs. Or they might grab it, knowing it's not theirs. Or it just sits there until airport operations finds it and treats it as a security risk. So the rule I live by, and I want you to adopt it, is that your bag should always be touching part of your body. If it's not on your back or in your hand, it should be between your feet or on your lap. Never on the floor next to you where you can't feel it, and never on a separate chair. Now, let's talk about the TSA and what they allow in terms of technology, because 2026 is bringing some changes that people aren't ready for. The rules around lithium batteries, for example, are getting stricter. We all know that power banks and spare lithium batteries have to be in carry-on luggage. They are forbidden in checked bags. That's been the rule for a while. But what's changing is the capacity limit. Airlines are starting to enforce the watt-hour rating more strictly. If you have a massive power bank that's rated over 100 watt-hours, you might need approval from the airline. If it's over 160 watt-hours, it's likely not allowed at all. And here's the kicker. If the battery is damaged, or if it's swollen, or if the terminals are exposed, they will take it. They will not let you fly with a fire hazard. I've seen people try to argue that their battery is fine, that it's just a little puffy. But puffy means the internal chemistry is failing. It means it could catch fire. On an airplane, a fire in the cabin is manageable. A fire in the cargo hold is catastrophic. That's why the rule exists. And while we're on the subject of things that are allowed, let's clear up the confusion about prescription medications. This is a huge source of anxiety for travelers. The official rule is that you can bring medications in pill or solid form in unlimited amounts as long as they are screened. You don't have to have them in prescription bottles, but it helps. The TSA recommends that you keep them in their original labeled containers, but they don't require it by law. However, and this is a big however, state laws vary. If you're flying with a controlled substance, like Adderall or painkillers, you absolutely need to have them in the original bottle with your name on it. If you don't, you could be looking at a drug possession charge, depending on where you are. The TSA might not care, but the local police might. So don't take the risk. Keep your meds in the bottles. Now, liquids medications are a different story. They are exempt from the 311 rule. You can bring larger quantities of liquid meds, but you have to declare them at the checkpoint. You need to take them out of your bag and tell the officer. They will likely test them separately. So if you're carrying a giant bottle of cough syrup, be prepared for extra screening, and don't try to hide it. If you hide it and they find it, they will assume it's not legit, and you'll have a real problem on your hands. I want to circle back to something I hinted at in the beginning, which is the trickery of the airport environment in 2026. We're seeing more automation, more self-service, and less human interaction. You check your own bag at the kiosk, you scan your own boarding pass at the gate, you go through automated passport control. And while this is efficient, it also means there are fewer eyes on you and your belongings. The people who used to watch the flow, the gate agents who knew the regulars, the security officers who patrolled the area, they are being replaced by cameras and algorithms. But cameras don't stop theft, they just record it. So the responsibility for your bag falls entirely on you. There's a new trend I'm seeing where people use those charging stations that are built into the seats or the pillars. You plug your phone in, and then you just let it sit there while you walk around. You're thinking, I'll be right back, my phone is charging. But in 2026, the threat isn't just someone stealing your phone. The threat is someone tampering with your device. There have been cases of criminals installing skimmers or data theft devices inside public USB ports. It's called juice jacking. You plug in, and they download your data. So the TSA doesn't forbid this, obviously, but they warn against it. You should use your own charger and plug into an electrical outlet, not a USB port. Or better yet, use your own portable battery. Because once your data is gone, the TSA can't help you. Let's talk about the human element. The TSA officers are people. They are underpaid, overworked, and often dealing with the worst of humanity. People yell at them because they have to take off their shoes. People scream at them because their water bottle is confiscated. I've seen it, and it's embarrassing. The officers have a job to do, and they have a tremendous amount of power in that moment. They can decide to search you thoroughly, or they can wave you through. They can call a supervisor, or they can let it slide. Your attitude matters. If you are polite, if you are prepared, if you listen and follow instructions, the process goes faster. If you are argumentative, if you try to be clever, they have all the time in the world to make your day worse. And that brings me to the TSA PreCheck and Clear situation. These programs are designed to speed you through, but they also create a false sense of security. People with PreCheck think they don't have to follow the rules. They think they can leave liquids in their bag, leave their laptop inside. And while it's true that PreCheck lanes are expedited, they still have rules. You still can't bring a weapon. You still can't bring a giant bottle of shampoo. And if you set off the metal detector, you're getting searched just like everyone else. The difference is, you paid for the privilege of keeping your shoes on. Now, I want to get into something that is strictly forbidden that people try to sneak through all the time, and it baffles me. Replica weapons. Toy guns, grenade-shaped water bottles, handcuffs. If it looks like a weapon, even if it's a plastic toy from a dollar store, it's probably not getting through. The officer has to assume it's real until proven otherwise. And if it looks real, they are going to treat it as real. You could be arrested, you could be removed from the airport, and your excuse of "it's just a toy" won't matter. Because in the moment, the officer doesn't know it's a toy. They see the shape of a gun in the X-ray, and they react. So, leave the toys at home or put them in checked luggage. And speaking of checked luggage, that's another area where people mess up. They think that once the bag is checked, the rules don't apply. But the rules for checked bags are actually stricter in some ways. You can put liquids in checked bags, which is great. But you cannot put lithium batteries, lighters, or flammable items in checked bags. If you pack a power bank in your checked bag and it's discovered, they will pull the bag. You might not make the flight. And if it's not discovered and it catches fire in the hold, that's a disaster. So know the difference between what goes in carry-on and what goes in checked. Let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Why are these rules so complicated? Why can't they just have a simple list? Because security is layered. It's not just about the object, it's about intent. A water bottle is fine. A water bottle filled with an explosive liquid is not. A knife is not allowed. A plastic knife with a rounded tip might be allowed. It's about the officer's judgment, and that's what makes it hard for travelers. They want a yes or no answer, but the real world is full of maybes. I remember reading about a guy who tried to bring a snow globe through security. Snow globes are a classic example. They contain liquid, so they fall under the liquids rule, but they are also fragile and often heavy. The rule says that if the snow globe fits in your liquids bag, it's allowed. But if it's too big, it's not. So this guy had a snow globe that was just slightly too big. He argued that it was a souvenir, that it was irreplaceable. The officer didn't care. The snow globe either went in the trash or he had to go back to the counter and check his bag. He missed his flight. And that's the harsh reality. The TSA doesn't care about your sentimental attachment. They care about the rule. Now, I want to ask you another question, and I want you to think about it as you continue reading. Have you ever been in a situation where you saw something at the airport that made you uncomfortable? Maybe someone left a bag, maybe someone was acting strange. Did you report it? Did you say something? Or did you just walk by and assume it wasn't your problem? Because that's the other side of security. It's not just the TSA's job, it's everyone's job. If you see something, say something. It's not just a slogan, it's a real part of keeping the airport safe. And I know nobody wants to be that person. Nobody wants to cause a scene. But if you see a bag that's been sitting alone for 10 minutes, tell a gate agent, tell a police officer. Let them decide if it's a threat. Because if it is a threat, you just helped prevent a disaster. And if it's not, you've maybe saved someone from losing their bag. Let's talk about the future. In 2026, we are seeing more biometric screening, facial recognition at the gate, at security. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's here. And it changes the dynamic. The TSA is using it to verify your identity against your boarding pass. It's faster, theoretically, but it also means that your face is now a data point. If you refuse to participate, you have the right to opt out and have a manual check, but that will take longer, so you have to decide what matters more to you, privacy or speed. And with all this technology, the human element is still the most important part. The officer who pats you down, the agent who checks your ID, they are the ones who make the final call. They are trained to read body language, to spot deception. If you are nervous, if you are sweating, if you are avoiding eye contact, they notice. It doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. It just means you're nervous. And that might lead to a more thorough search. So take a deep breath. Be calm. Be normal. It's just a flight. I want to share a personal story, and I think this will tie everything together. A few years ago, I was flying out of a major airport on the East Coast. I was early, as I always am. I got through security, found my gate, and sat down. Across from me was a family, a mom, a dad, 2 kids. They looked exhausted. They had bags everywhere. The dad got up to get food, and he left his backpack on the chair. The mom was busy with the kids. The backpack sat there, unattended, for a good 5 minutes. I watched it. I kept waiting for one of them to grab it, but they didn't. Finally, a man in a suit walked by, looked at the bag, looked around, and then sat down next to it. He didn't touch it, but he sat right next to it, and I could see him looking at it. Then he got up and walked away. About 30 seconds later, 2 airport police officers walked up to the family and started asking questions. They pointed at the bag. The mom looked confused, then embarrassed. She said it was her husband's bag. The officers made her open it. They searched through it. They found nothing. But by then, the dad was back, and he was furious. He was yelling at the officers, which was the worst thing he could do. They asked for his ID, they ran his name, they took their time, they missed their boarding group, they had to wait and board last. Now who was at fault here? The dad for leaving his bag. The mom for not watching it. The guy in the suit? Maybe he reported it, maybe he didn't. But the point is, that family's travel day was ruined because they were careless, and it could have been avoided if they had just kept the bag with them. So, let's bring this back to the TSA and what they allow. They allow you to bring your bag. They allow you to bring most of your stuff within reason, but they don't allow you to be oblivious. They don't allow you to create a security risk. And in their eyes, an unattended bag is a risk. So the next time you're at the airport, I want you to be hyper-aware. I want you to notice where your bag is at all times. I want you to notice the bags of the people around you, because we're all in this together. We all want to get home safely. And that brings me to one final thought about what is allowed. You are allowed to ask questions. You are allowed to request a private screening if you feel uncomfortable. You are allowed to ask for a supervisor if you feel you've been treated unfairly. But you have to do it respectfully. You have to understand that the person on the other side of the counter is just doing their job. They didn't make the rules, they are just enforcing them. I've covered a lot of ground here, from the 311 rule to the dangers of public USB ports, from the psychology of theft to the reality of security screenings, and I hope you've picked up on the thread that ties it all together. The airport is a unique environment. It's a place where public space meets extreme security. It's a place where you have to balance convenience with caution. The TSA has a list of things they allow and forbid, but that list is just the starting point. The real rules are written in the behavior of the people around you, in the vigilance you maintain, and in the respect you show for the process. So, the next time you're standing in line, taking off your shoes, pulling out your laptop, remember that this is the price we pay for safety. It's annoying, it's inconvenient, but it's necessary. And if you go into it with that mindset, if you prepare, if you pay attention, you'll get through it just fine. You'll get to your gate, you'll find your seat, and you'll be on your way. But please, for your own sake, never put your bag in that empty seat next to you. Keep it on your lap, keep it between your feet, keep it where you can see it and feel it. Because in the split second you look away, everything can change. And trust me, you don't want to be the person explaining to airport police why your bag was left alone. You don't want to be the person missing their flight because of a cheese wheel or a snow globe. You want to be the person who walks onto the plane, relaxed and ready, knowing that you navigated the maze of rules and risks successfully. And that's really what this all comes down to. It's not just about what the TSA allows, it's about what you allow yourself to do. It's about the choices you make in the terminal, the awareness you keep, and the respect you show for the system. The TSA has their job. You have yours. And your job is to be a smart traveler. So be smart, be aware, and most importantly, keep your bag with you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you ever had a close call at the airport? Have you ever seen something that made you nervous? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone you know who travels. Because the more we all know, the safer and smoother the journey will be. Safe travels.